There exists within each of us a primal knowing, an ancient awareness that predates language itself. It speaks through sensation rather than sound, through instinct rather than intellect. This inner compass has guided humanity since the dawn of consciousness. Yet in our modern rush toward progress, we've learned to silence its voice. Today, you stand at a crossroads between the logical mind and the intuitive heart. What you're about to experience isn't merely a test. It's an invitation to remember something your soul has always known, but your conscious mind may have forgotten. Throughout human history, across every continent and culture, people have recognized certain creatures as carriers of spiritual wisdom. These aren't just animals we observe in nature. They represent psychological forces, emotional patterns, and spiritual energies that exist within the human psyche itself. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung spent decades exploring what he called the collective unconscious, that deep reservoir of shared human experience where ancient symbols dwell. Among these symbols, the spirit animal stands as one of the most powerful. It functions as a psychological mirror, reflecting back to us the hidden aspects of our own nature. What draws you to a particular creature is never accidental. It's your unconscious mind recognizing itself, seeing its own qualities reflected in the characteristics of that animal. This attraction operates below the level of conscious thought. It bypasses rational analysis entirely and speaks directly to something deeper within you. In moments of stillness, you might feel it. That inexplicable pull toward certain imagery, certain energies. Perhaps you've noticed recurring animals appearing in your dreams, in the media you consume, in the art that moves you. These aren't coincidences. They're breadcrumbs leading you back to your authentic self. Today you'll encounter 5 powerful archetypes. Each one embodies a different psychological state, a different phase of spiritual development, a different way of moving through the world. Your task is simple yet profound. Don't think. Don't analyze. Simply feel which one resonates with your current moment of existence. The 5 guardians awaiting your recognition are the white wolf, embodiment of fierce independence and protective boundaries. The violet deer, symbol of emotional sensitivity and healing grace. The golden lion, avatar of authentic power and heart-centered leadership. The Golden-Green Stag, keeper of natural balance and gentle transformation. The dark raven, herald of shadow work and profound metamorphosis. Your choice today reveals where you stand on your life's journey. It illuminates the lessons your soul currently needs to learn, the wounds seeking healing and the strengths ready to emerge from dormancy. This isn't about picking your favorite animal. It's about recognizing which energy is already active in your life, even if you haven't consciously acknowledged it. The spirit animal doesn't arrive from outside. It awakens from within, so take this moment seriously. Quiet the mental chatter. Let your breathing slow. Soften your gaze and allow your awareness to settle into your body. Notice which image creates a response in your chest, your stomach, your spine. That physical reaction is your intuition speaking. Don't choose the animal you wish represented you. Choose the one that actually does represent you right now in this present moment. The one whose eyes seem to look into your soul rather than at your surface. The one that makes you feel seen, understood, recognized. Because what you're about to discover isn't new information. It's ancient knowledge surfacing from the depths of your own being. The spirit animal you select today has been walking beside you all along, invisible yet influential, shaping your choices, protecting your energy, guiding your path. Now, observe each guardian carefully. Let your intuition lead, and when one calls to you louder than the others, trust that calling. Your soul knows what it needs. The white wolf, keeper of sacred boundaries. Should the white wolf capture your attention, your psyche is currently navigating the territory of self-preservation and authentic independence. This isn't the wolf of fairy tales that represents danger. This is the wolf of psychological truth, the internal guardian that knows when to trust and when to retreat. The wolf archetype emerges during life phases when you must reclaim your personal power from those who've taken too much. It appears when people-pleasing has eroded your sense of self, when you've bent yourself into unrecognizable shapes to maintain connections that no longer serve your growth. There's a reason the wolf travels in packs yet maintains fierce individuality. It understands that true belonging never requires self-betrayal. The white wolf, specifically draped in pale luminosity, represents the purity of this principle. It refuses contamination of its essential nature, even when faced with rejection or misunderstanding. Perhaps you've recently experienced an awakening, a sudden clarity about relationships or situations that have been draining your vital energy. Maybe you've started saying no more frequently, withdrawing from spaces where your authentic self isn't welcome, setting limits that protect your emotional and spiritual well-being. This isn't coldness, it's wisdom. The wolf understands that your energy is sacred, that your time is finite, that your presence is a gift not to be wasted on those who fail to recognize its value. The white coloring carries significance beyond aesthetics. In color psychology and spiritual traditions, white represents cleansing, clarity, and new beginnings. Your selection of this guardian suggests you're in the process of purification, clearing away old patterns of codependency, releasing toxic connections, washing clean the wounds of past betrayals. Many who resonate with the white wolf have spent years as caretakers, fixers, mediators. They've absorbed others' emotions, solved others' problems, carried burdens that were never theirs to bear. The wolf arrives to say enough. Your empathy is beautiful, but it was never meant to be self-destructive. There's profound intelligence in the wolf's wariness. It doesn't trust blindly. It observes, assesses, and decides carefully who deserves access to its vulnerable spaces. This discernment isn't paranoia. It's the natural result of having been wounded by those who seemed safe. If you're currently feeling the urge to isolate, to step back from social obligations, to spend more time alone, understand that this impulse is healing, not harmful. Solitude allows you to hear your own voice again after years of drowning in others' expectations and demands. The white wolf teaches the distinction between loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness is painful disconnection from others. Aloneness is powerful reconnection with yourself. One depletes you. The other restores you. Your spirit has been calling you home to yourself, back to the interests you abandoned to please others, back to the dreams you set aside because they seemed too selfish, back to the truth you've been afraid to speak because it might disappoint people who've grown comfortable with your silence. This guardian also represents primal instinct, that gut-level knowing that civilization tries to rationalize away. How many times have you felt something was wrong, but talked yourself out of that feeling because you couldn't logically explain it? The wolf honors intuition as the most reliable compass. In choosing this animal, you're acknowledging that your instincts deserve respect. That suspicious feeling about a new person, that discomfort in certain environments, that resistance to opportunities everyone else thinks you should want. These aren't flaws in your judgment. They're your inner wolf protecting you from danger your conscious mind hasn't yet identified. The archetype also carries teachings about loyalty, but loyalty of a specific kind. Not the loyalty that sacrifices self for group acceptance. Rather, the loyalty that remains true to your own values even when everyone around you contradicts them. You may find yourself questioning beliefs you've held your entire life, examining whether they're actually yours or were inherited from family, absorbed from culture, adopted to fit in. The wolf supports this questioning. It encourages you to keep only what resonates with your deepest truth and release everything else, no matter how long you've carried it. This is a season of your life marked by necessary endings. Friendships that have run their course, roles that no longer fit, identities that feel like costumes rather than skin. The wolf walks beside you through these transitions, reminding you that letting go isn't failure, it's evolution. Your task now is to honor your own rhythm, even when it doesn't match anyone else's pace. To trust your own perception, even when others insist you're wrong. To protect your energy, even when you're accused of being selfish. The white wolf knows that self-preservation is the foundation of authentic service. You cannot give from an empty vessel. So walk proudly in your solitude. Speak your truth without apology. Set boundaries without guilt. The wolf's presence in your life is confirmation that you're finally choosing yourself. And that choice is the most courageous one you'll ever make. The violet, the deer has long symbolized gentleness, but not the weakness that word sometimes implies. This is the gentleness of spring rain that nourishes without violence, of dawn light that illuminates without harshness. It's the power that heals rather than harms, transforms rather than destroys. Your connection to this archetype suggests you possess what the world desperately needs but rarely values: emotional intelligence, intuitive understanding, the capacity to hold space for pain without trying to fix it. You're likely the person others instinctively confide in, sensing your genuine compassion and non-judgmental presence. But this gift comes with a burden. You absorb emotions from your environment like a sponge soaking up water. You walk into a room and immediately sense the tensions, the unspoken conflicts, the hidden sorrows. This permeability makes you an extraordinary friend, partner, and healer. It also leaves you exhausted, overwhelmed, uncertain where others' feelings end and yours begin. The violet coloring of this deer holds layers of meaning. Purple has historically represented spirituality, intuition, and the bridge between material and mystical realms. It's the color of the crown chakra in Eastern traditions, the energy center associated with higher consciousness and connection to something greater than the individual self. Your selection of this guardian indicates your soul is developing its subtle perception, learning to sense not just physical reality, but the invisible currents of emotion, energy, and spirit that flow beneath surface appearances. You're becoming more psychic, though you might not use that word, more sensitive to synchronicities, more aware of meaningful coincidences, more attuned to the symbolic language of dreams and signs. This increased sensitivity can feel overwhelming, especially in a world that's harsh, loud, and often cruel. You may find yourself needing more rest than others, more time in nature, more silence to recover from the assault of daily existence. Don't pathologize these needs. They're not weaknesses. They're requirements for your particular nervous system and soul configuration. The violet deer appears during times when you must learn to protect your empathic gifts without shutting them down entirely. This is delicate work. The temptation when we're hurt by our sensitivity is to build walls, to numb ourselves, to become cynical and closed. But that would mean losing your greatest strength. Instead, the deer teaches energetic boundaries, ways to remain open-hearted while not taking on others' pain as your own, techniques for clearing absorbed emotions so they don't accumulate in your body and psyche, practices for distinguishing between your authentic feelings and the emotional atmosphere you're picking up from your surroundings. You're also being called into deeper self-compassion. If you're honest, you probably treat yourself with far less kindness than you extend to others. You push through exhaustion, ignore your own needs, minimize your own struggles while rushing to support everyone else. The deer whispers, turn that compassion inward. You deserve the same tenderness you so freely give. This archetype is connected to the wounded healer, a concept from Jungian psychology describing those who transform their own suffering into medicine for others. Your pain hasn't been purposeless. It's developed your capacity for empathy, taught you how to sit with discomfort, given you wisdom that only comes through direct experience of hardship. But there's a shadow side to the wounded healer, the tendency to stay wounded in order to maintain your identity as a healer, to unconsciously resist your own healing because you fear losing your purpose, your connection to others, your sense of who you are. The deer asks you to examine this pattern honestly. You're allowed to heal fully. You're allowed to move beyond the pain that once defined you. Your worth isn't dependent on your ability to suffer beautifully or help others with their suffering. You have value simply because you exist, not because of what you can do for anyone else. The deer also carries messages about receptivity, the feminine principle of allowing rather than forcing. Modern culture worships action, productivity, aggressive pursuit of goals. But the deer teaches that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause, wait, listen, receive. You don't always have to have answers. You don't always have to be strong. You don't always have to help. Sometimes your only job is to be present with yourself, to acknowledge your own tender heart, to honor your own need for care and comfort. If you're currently experiencing grief, loss, or heartbreak, the violet deer is your companion through that dark valley. It doesn't promise to make the pain disappear. Instead, it walks beside you, its presence a reminder that suffering can be sacred, that tears can cleanse, that breaking open is sometimes necessary for deeper healing. This guardian encourages you to trust the timing of your own unfolding. You don't have to rush your healing process. You don't have to be over it by anyone else's timeline. Transformation happens in its own rhythm, and yours is gentle, gradual, thorough. Your sensitivity is your superpower, even when it feels like a curse. Your ability to feel deeply allows you to love deeply, create deeply, understand deeply. The world needs people like you who haven't armored their hearts, who still believe in beauty despite encountering ugliness, who still choose kindness despite experiencing cruelty. So rest when you need to rest. Retreat when you need to retreat. Say no to what depletes you and yes to what nourishes you. The violet deer reminds you that self-care isn't selfish, it's sacred. And your well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. The golden lion, Embodiment of sovereign courage. When the golden lion calls to your soul, you're standing at the threshold of your own magnificence. This isn't arrogance speaking. It's recognition of a truth you've perhaps spent too long denying. You possess remarkable strength, and it's time to stop hiding it. The lion has served as a symbol of royalty and power across countless cultures throughout history. But the power this archetype represents isn't domination over others. It's sovereignty over yourself, mastery of your own thoughts, emotions, choices, and destiny. Gold, the lion's radiant color in this guardian, represents illumination, achievement, and the highest expression of potential. In alchemical traditions, gold was the ultimate goal of transformation, base metal refined through fire into something precious and incorruptible. Your connection to the golden lion suggests you're undergoing this alchemical process, burning away false identities to reveal your authentic essence. Perhaps you've noticed a shift recently, a growing impatience with pretending, performing, or shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. A rising frustration with playing small in a life that feels increasingly constraining, an urgent need to express truth even when that truth disrupts the peace others prefer. This is your inner lion roaring. It's been quiet for too long, silenced by fear of judgment, rejection, or conflict. But lions aren't built for silence. Their roar can be heard for miles, a declaration of presence that demands acknowledgement. The golden lion appears when you must step into leadership, though not necessarily in conventional ways. Leadership here means taking responsibility for your own life direction, rather than waiting for someone else to give you permission, validation, or approval. It means trusting your own judgment even when it contradicts popular opinion. You may discover that your opinions have become stronger, your boundaries clearer, your tolerance for manipulation or dishonesty dramatically reduced. This isn't you becoming difficult. It's you becoming integrated, aligned, authentic. This archetype also governs the heart center, not the sentimental heart of greeting cards, but the spiritual heart of courage. The word courage itself derives from the Latin cor, meaning heart. True bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and acting from love anyway. The lion teaches that you can hold both strength and compassion, both power and gentleness, both confidence and humility. These aren't contradictions. They're the hallmarks of mature leadership, whether you're leading others, leading yourself, or simply leading by example. If you've been waiting for confidence before taking action, the lion has news for you. Confidence doesn't create action. Action creates confidence. You build self-trust by honoring your commitments to yourself, by following through even when it's difficult, by choosing your own respect over others' approval. This guardian also addresses the wounds of invisibility. Many who resonate with the golden lion have spent years feeling unseen, unheard, unvalued. Perhaps you've been overlooked for opportunities you deserved. Maybe your contributions have been minimized or attributed to others. Possibly your voice has been dismissed or interrupted so many times you eventually stopped speaking up. The lion's emergence in your life signals an end to this pattern. You're no longer willing to dim your light so others can shine brighter. You're done apologizing for your intelligence, your ambition, your success, or your standards. Your presence is too powerful to keep containing. But with this power comes responsibility. The golden lion asks you to examine your relationship with anger, particularly righteous anger at injustice, boundary violation. This death is necessary. What's leaving your life has completed its purpose. It served you once, perhaps for many years, but now it constrains rather than supports your evolution. The raven arrives to help you release what's ready to go, even when your conscious mind wants desperately to hold on. Death is terrifying to the ego, that part of your psyche that craves permanence, security, and continuity of identity. But death is just transformation in disguise. The caterpillar must die for the butterfly to emerge. The seed must crack open for the plant to grow. Your old self must dissolve for your new self to crystallize. The black coloring of this raven isn't absence of light, but the absorption of all light, all experience, all possibility. Black represents the void, the womb of creation, the dark moon phase when nothing is visible but everything is gestating. You're in such a phase now, and it feels disorienting because you can't see where you're going. The raven asks you to trust the darkness, to stop trying to force premature clarity, to allow the mystery to unfold at its own pace. Your job isn't to understand everything right now. Your job is to surrender to the process, to let go of control, to admit you don't have all the answers. This guardian also governs shadow work, the psychological practice of acknowledging and integrating the disowned parts of yourself. These are the qualities, emotions, and impulses you've judged as unacceptable and pushed into your unconscious. Anger, selfishness, jealousy, desire, grief, rage. But what you resist persists. What you repress eventually erupts. The shadow doesn't disappear because you ignore it. It simply operates outside your awareness, sabotaging your conscious intentions, creating patterns you don't understand, manifesting in your life as fate rather than choice. The raven guides you into direct encounter with your shadow, not to indulge it destructively, but to acknowledge it honestly, to admit that you're not entirely noble, enlightened, or healed, that you contain multitudes, including aspects you'd prefer to deny. This confrontation with shadow is humbling and liberating simultaneously. Humbling because you must release your idealized self-image. Liberating because you no longer have to maintain exhausting pretenses of perfection. Many who resonate with the Black Raven are experiencing what's sometimes called the dark night of the soul, a spiritual crisis where previous sources of meaning collapse and nothing has yet emerged to replace them. You may be questioning everything, your beliefs, your purpose, your relationships, your identity. This crisis, though agonizing, is sacred. It's your psyche dismantling structures that have become too small to contain your expanding consciousness. Yes, it feels like losing your mind. In a sense, you are. You're losing the limited mind you've operated from and preparing space for a larger awareness to emerge. The raven also connects to ancestral work, the recognition that you carry not only your own experiences, but the unresolved trauma and wisdom of your lineage. Patterns of addiction, abuse, poverty, or fear may have passed through generations, landing in your nervous system as inexplicable anxiety, depression, or behavioral compulsions. Part of your transformation involves recognizing these inherited patterns and choosing to break cycles that have continued for decades or centuries. This is powerful, painful work. You're not only healing yourself, you're healing backward through your ancestry and forward into future generations. This archetype demands absolute honesty. The raven sees through every pretense, every performance, every carefully constructed persona. It demands you stop lying to yourself about what you feel, what you want, what you fear, and what you've endured. For many people, especially those raised in environments where authentic expression was punished, this level of honesty feels dangerous. You learned young to hide your truth, to read the room and become whatever kept you safe. The raven calls you to unlearn this survival strategy, to risk being seen as you actually are. The guardian also brings gifts from the underworld, wisdom that only comes through suffering, strength that only develops through adversity, compassion that only grows from personal pain. Your wounds aren't merely wounds. They're initiations that have qualified you for deeper service, greater impact, more authentic connection. But you must first stop spiritually bypassing that tendency to use spiritual concepts to avoid dealing with psychological and emotional realities, to say everything happens for a reason, before you've fully grieved the loss, to claim I've released it when anger still burns beneath your practiced calm, to perform forgiveness while resentment festers in your heart. The raven won't allow these evasions. It insists you feel everything fully before attempting to transcend it, that you descend completely before any rise becomes authentic, that you honor the mess of your humanity before claiming enlightenment. In choosing this guardian, you're acknowledging that you can no longer continue as you have been. Something must change fundamentally, not superficially. Not a new habit or attitude, but a complete reimagining of who you are and how you move through the world. This transformation will likely feel like death because, in a sense, it is. The person you've been is dissolving. What emerges on the other side will be recognizably you, yet fundamentally different. More authentic, more whole, more alive. The raven doesn't promise this will be easy. It promises this will be necessary. And it promises to accompany you through every moment of the descent, its dark wings beating steadily beside you, its ancient eyes reflecting your own hidden wisdom back to you. So stop fighting the transformation. Stop pretending everything is fine. Stop trying to maintain control. Let yourself fall apart. Let the tears come. Let the rage surface. Let the grief move through you. The raven catches you in the falling and teaches you that sometimes breaking down is the same as breaking through. Closing. The mirror of the soul. The animal that called to you today didn't choose you randomly. Nothing in the realm of the psyche is ever random. Every symbol, every attraction, every repulsion carries meaning, offers guidance, reveals truth. What you saw in that creature was yourself reflected back. The part of you that's most alive right now, most active, most ready to be acknowledged and integrated into your conscious awareness. These aren't just pretty pictures or entertaining archetypes. They're living energies within your own psyche, aspects of your wholeness that have been separated through the process of growing up, fitting in, surviving in a world that often requires us to fragment ourselves. The white wolf guards your right to exist authentically. The violet deer protects your sensitivity as the gift it truly is. The golden lion claims the power you've been afraid to own. The golden-green stag restores your connection to natural wisdom. The black raven guides your necessary transformation. Each of these energies lives inside you, though one is currently dominant, calling most urgently for your attention. But know that as you move through different life phases, different spirit animals will step forward to guide you through new lessons, new challenges, new dimensions of your becoming. This is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. The animal you've recognized today will continue speaking to you through dreams, through synchronicities, through the persistent images and impulses that arise from your unconscious. Don't dismiss these messages. Don't rationalize them away. Don't let skepticism rob you of genuine guidance. Your soul speaks in symbols because symbols carry more truth than literal language ever could. In ancient wisdom traditions, shamans would journey to meet their spirit animals, would learn directly from these guides, would allow these energies to work through them for healing, teaching, and transformation. You may not identify as a shaman, but you can still cultivate this relationship. Spend time meditating on your spirit animal. Research its behaviors in nature. Notice when it appears in your environment or your media consumption. Journal about what this creature represents to you personally, beyond anything you've read or been told. Most importantly, embody its qualities. If the wolf chose you, practice setting boundaries. If the deer called you, honor your sensitivity. If the lion claimed you, step into your power. If the stag found you, align with natural rhythms. If the raven summoned you, embrace the transformation. These aren't passive symbols to admire from a distance. They're active forces waiting to express through you, to lend you their strength, to teach you their wisdom, to help you navigate the complexities of human existence with more grace, courage, and authenticity. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the mysterious terrain where symbol and psyche meet. He discovered that healing happens not through logical analysis alone, but through engaging imagination, through allowing symbolic realities to reshape our understanding of who we are and what we're capable of becoming. The spirit animal is one gateway into this larger journey of self-discovery. It's an invitation to remember that you're more than your job, your roles, your accomplishments, or your failures. You're a living mystery, containing depths you've barely begun to explore. So treat this recognition with the respect it deserves. You've just identified an ally for your journey, a protector for your path, a mirror for your soul. This relationship, if you nurture it, will guide you through darkness, celebrate you in light, and remind you always of your essential nature. The animals haven't abandoned humanity. They've been waiting patiently for us to remember how to listen to their ancient wisdom. Today you've taken a step toward that remembering. Now the real journey begins. Walk with your guardian, listen to its teachings, embody its strengths, and trust that you've been seen, recognized, and claimed by an energy that knows exactly who you are beneath all the masks you've worn. Your spirit animal has been walking beside you your entire life. Today you finally turned around and saw it clearly. Now you'll never be alone again. Now you'll always have access to the wisdom, strength, and guidance you need. This is the gift of symbolic consciousness, the recognition that we exist simultaneously in multiple realms, that we are both physical and spiritual, both finite and infinite, both human and something mysteriously more. May your spirit animal guide you well. May its presence bring you home to yourself, and may you walk the rest of your path with the certainty that you are supported, protected, and loved by forces greater than you can fully comprehend. The journey continues, the transformation unfolds, and your soul knows exactly where it's going.